Should Arizona State drop a bag on Massamba Diop?
Yes.
Maybe if he enters the transfer portal, the most coveted center out there.
Yeah.
He is going to be a big-time name. If he does intend to enter the portal, the time of recording this, he has not yet decided.
No.
Although, with a lot of change over at Arizona State between Bobby Hurley and everything going on, bringing in St. Mary's coach Randy Bennett, I wouldn't be shocked if he at least enters the portal to test the water. So my question to you, Totri, is before we talk about price, just as a player, how important would it be for next year's Arizona State team if they can retain somebody like Massamba Diop?
I think there's an impact on the court and there's an impact off the court. Starting off the court, I think to get this fan base to continue to buy in, I think there were a lot of slightly average players or maybe a couple above average players on ASU's roster last year. Massamba Diop was the clear player that had the most potential. There were people, Eric, talking about him potentially declaring for the draft after this season, but I think we're all in agreement that he's somebody that could benefit from another year of college basketball. And I think the fans, they would rally to DFA to see a new coach in Randy Bennett, see a new staff, and a new team with Massamba Diop as the headliner. That's off the court. On the court, Eric, you know what this guy brings night in, night out. He can really score at all three levels. He's a true 7-footer, somebody with NBA potential. That would kick off the Randy Bennett era the right way if you're able to actually retain one of potentially the most coveted centers in college basketball going into next season.
Yeah, and we'll talk about price because the price will be high for Massamba Diop. I will say this, just thoroughly impressed by his game, the fluidity that he has as such a young player. I know he's a little bit older than most freshmen, but he's still very young. The touch, the pull-up jump shots, the dribbling, and he showed flashes, especially early in this past season where they were playing some pretty bad teams, of being able to do just a little bit more than once you go up and take on some of these the best Big 12 teams, your game gets a little bit more limited. The sky is the ceiling for Massamba Diop. I genuinely think he's not only going to be an NBA player, I think next year he could end up being a lottery pick. I think if he were to go out this year, it's such a loaded class that's probably why he's going to return to college and most likely make a ton of money. It'd be super important for ASU to retain this guy because you're trying to reignite a passion in this fan base. And for those who had been watching, Massamba Diop is somebody they're like, we need him back. And for those who haven't been watching, it's certainly a selling point to say we were able to retain through a coaching change somebody who, I'll be honest with you, if he hits the portal, Duke's going to call him. UNC's going to call him. Arizona's going to call him. Michigan's going to call him. All of the blue bloods are going to call Massamba Diop if he is in the portal. That is point blank, period. The question is, Totri, can Arizona State afford to keep him if he does in fact want to leave and he has bids from said blue bloods?
If they were working with the money that they had put into the team last year, then no. Massamba Diop's price tag is well above $1.5 million at this point in time. He's somebody that could probably net $2.5, maybe $3 million, depending on what universities actually call him. I personally don't see Arizona State being able to have the finances in terms of rev share to throw that at Massamba Diop. However, of course, there's collectives, there's other deals around it that could potentially make that work with donors. And again, there has been a wave of excitement with the new hire in Randy Bennett. So we'll see. We'll see if Arizona State can't afford him. I think this is going to be a situation, though, if Massamba Diop does stay at ASU, I would be surprised if he was making in excess of $2 million. I just don't see the Sun Devils spending that kind of money on one individual player, if I'm being honest with you.
Now, again, at this time now, he has not entered the portal.
No, in fact, he's done maybe what you would consider the opposite, and he has been posting on Instagram on his story of him actually getting, jump shots in, warming up, playing at Weather Up.
Now, and we know ASU has had some donors come out of the woodworks recently, specifically for football. Maybe there is a donor that's very excited about the future of basketball, loved watching Massamba Diop last year, and says, you know what, I will pay some of or all of what he is demanding, right? And maybe for him, this is a kid that's coming from overseas, was playing in the second league in Spain, right? Maybe wants some consistency in his life and feels like he can be the guy on a team in the Big 12, which if you go to, again, a Duke, a UNC, any of these teams, right? UConn, you're not going to be the guy.
No, you're not.
Right? And he is definitely skilled enough to be the guy. So I am fascinated by what it would take to keep him around if he does want to be around, right? I think the no news is good news as far as entering the portal.
Agreed.
You are seeing some big names, but at the end of the day, I feel like it would actually be the worst move for him to not even go check in the portal.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he will enter the portal and he will go see. And realistically, if you had to ask me, I would say he is going to go elsewhere, because it's a lot different to, in theory, think about staying and say you're going to stay until you sit down across from UNC and Michael Malone, who just got hired, and they say, we want you to be our blue chip piece for us. Like, we're going to give you $3.5 million.
Yeah.
Right. Or go to Michigan and say, we want you to come here and we want you to, try to follow up on what we did this year. It's a lot harder to say no to that once you get in the portal. I'd be shocked if he doesn't enter it. But if he is able to be retained, what a win for ASU, because Massamba Diop will not only be an NBA player, I think he has a chance to be a very good NBA player.
This is, again, it may sound a little far-fetched that Arizona State could retain somebody of Massamba Diop's caliber, but what I will say is anytime over the last couple of seasons when it comes to a major sport and there is conversation about Arizona State losing a player, go back to football in the 2025 season. They managed to retain Sam Levitt. They managed to retain Jordan Tyson. You go to the 2024 season, they managed to retain Cam Scadaboo after a 3-9 season in 2023. And I get it's football, but still, like, Arizona State is willing to pony up for these elite level players that ultimately go down in Arizona State history in a big way. Massamba Diop could in turn be one of the bigger names out of Arizona State men's basketball in the last decade, maybe decade plus, if he decides to return to Arizona State another season. The big question is he willing to potentially take a price cut to remain in Tempe?
Yeah, there are a lot of questions around Massamba Diop. Let us know down in the comments. Drop a comment down below and let us know if ASU should drop a bag on Massamba Diop. And of course, follow PHNX Sun Devils for all of your ASU news and notes.